Hello, welcome to the Long Island Weather Update and Outlook. I know we're a little late tonight. It's almost 10:30. That's just because I wanted to watch the sunset and got delayed watching some of these storms, as you could see, that we dealt with today. Pretty impressive. We didn't really. We had a pretty strong thunderstorm. There wasn't much lightning with it, but very strong thunderstorm. You could see the billowing cumulonimbus clouds that we had with it ahead of it. It was quite something, the storm, and I have a video of that coming up as well. And then I was watching this. We had some really beautiful skies afterwards this evening. And then I watched the sunset. I have a video of that, too. It was quite spectacular. So that's why I'm a little bit late. So anyway, let's look at... Here you go. You got a chance to see what the skies look like today. So let's look at the satellite here. And we did have more shower and thunderstorm activity today. And you can see here's our satellite and our little front here that's going to try to make its way offshore and bring us some more sunshine tomorrow. We'll briefly go over our highs and lows. We got a lot of other stuff, tropical stuff to talk about as well. So we're going to briefly just go over all this stuff here right now. Current temperatures 75 degrees, dew point 72 at Farmingdale. So just go over our highs and lows. A lot more cloud cover today, so highs were only generally low to mid 80s. And the lows were only in the low 70s. So again, not really a big spread. Looking at iSlip statistics today, high of 82, low of 73. Still puts us 3 degrees above normal for the day. So far at iSlip, 1.10 inches of rain. And we'll see that might not count for the additional rain we got today. Again, we had some thunderstorms that were around. And so let's showers and thunderstorms again that were around that affected parts of our area today. So let's actually go back to the weather map, and we'll go ahead and look at how much rainfall our areas have seen so far in the past. We'll do 12-hour just to show you what we got today. And you can see not a whole lot out east, but further west, yeah, some areas got another close to an inch of rain being reported in parts of around Jersey City there. Otherwise, less than a quarter of an inch. Most areas didn't see that much additional rainfall today, but some areas did, depending on where these showers and thunderstorms popped up. So I don't think these storms caused too many impacts to power lines here. Power outages, not really. Not really. There are in Florida, though, however, because it's from Debby. So, yeah, let's just get right to it. We're going to start with the latest on Hurricane Tropical Storm Debby, though it's going to be a hurricane very shortly right now at this point. So the latest public advisory on Tropical Storm Debby. Debby is strengthening as it heads toward the Florida Big Bend area. And this is very bad when we have a landfalling, strengthening tropical storm. And this is almost going to be a hurricane at this point, I think. So it will bring a major flood threat to the southeastern United States this week. As of 8 p.m., its location 28.1 north, 84.1 west, about 100 miles west of Tampa, Florida, and about 90 miles southwest of Cedar Key, Florida. Maximum sustained winds of 70 miles an hour. Very close to becoming a hurricane at this point, moving north at 12 miles an hour. Minimum central pressure 992 millibars, 29.30 inches. And, yeah, this is a storm that, and the tropical storm force winds extend out up to 140 miles from the center. So that's pretty substantial. And there's already been some coastal flooding along in southwest Florida from the storm. Let's look at the warning cone and images right now. And the problem is this is going to be a very slow-moving storm that is going to stall over South Carolina. Very unusual to see this, but then again, this is becoming more and more common as we deal with weaker jet streams. So you see here, it's going to be making a landfall tonight in the Big Bend area of Florida, then moving over southern Georgia, and then stalling over South Carolina. And the main issue with this storm is not going to necessarily be the wind. It's going to be the rain. And that's what we're going to have to really watch for at this point. So let's look at the latest from Tropical Tidbits on Debby. Go to current storms. We'll get the latest here. A satellite image here. We'll get a few more satellite images. Definitely see some blow-ups here. This is definitely strengthening as it heads inland. This is going to be a very bad situation for southwest Florida. Let's look at some of the observations from this area here. And we'll actually go to this one, too, as well. So let's go to storms, and we'll look at Debby right here on this satellite image. So here's Debby as it's churning toward Florida, and definitely looking very threatening indeed as the storm. You can see all the blow-ups, the convection that we have here from this storm, and there is a lot of it, and probably decent amount of lightning too. We should actually go and look at the southeast United States, and we could do flash intensity and see how much lightning. Yeah, there is a decent amount of lightning being produced around this storm here. So again, this is definitely a storm that we're going to have to really pay attention to as far as the southeast goes. Right now, it looks like the threat for us has diminished, but it definitely is a threatening storm nonetheless. So we're going to go now to the models on Debby here and take a look at the spaghetti models and see what they do, because this is the problem. And we'll be looking at the models in a little bit, but you'll see it actually emerges back out over the coast. Could pick up a little more strength before it moves back inland again, and then just kind of just slowly meanders around. It's really a bad situation all in all. Intensity guidance, I think this thing could definitely become a Category 1 hurricane before it landfalls. Probably not Cat 2, but definitely Cat 1 at this point. Definitely a very major concern at this point. And because of that, let's go to the weather and hazards map now. What did I do with it? What did I do with it? Did I close it up? I think I did close it up. All right, we'll load it back up over here. So you'll see that we have hurricane. We got a lot of warnings here in effect here. We got tropical storm force warnings, hurricane warnings in effect for the Big Bend area, tornado watches on the east side here for Florida, tropical storm warnings for much of the west coast of Florida, north of Cape Coral, and then we have flood watches, tropical storm warnings into southern Georgia. Looks like it'll miss Atlanta, but then it goes into South Carolina. We also have severe thunderstorm, tropical storm watches around that. And, of course, out west we have the heat and the air quality alerts with the smoke and all. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Let's take a look and see what the latest is going on here with Debby here. And you can see, look at some of these. Let's see, we got a good amount of buoys here, which is good. You can see what's going on. This buoy here has an east-northeast wind at 43, gusting to 54 miles an hour. So that's pretty substantial. And like I said, there has been coastal flooding here. Look at this. Albert Whitted Airport, 2 points, almost 80. South wind is gusting to 46 miles an hour. So we're definitely seeing a lot of wind from this. And as a result from the wind, we are already seeing power outages in Florida. 80,000 customers without power already in the Big Bend area. So this is the area that's going to get hit. And their infrastructure up here is not as good as further south. So we could see a lot more power outages over there. And we're seeing some scattered ones on the west coast of Florida right now. So that's what's going on with Debby. And again, this is something that we're gonna talk about. Let's just go to the CONUS satellite view so we see the whole picture here to what's going on. So you'll see Debby. You'll see here's Debby. All right. Here's going to be our weather for tomorrow. Maybe a little bit of haze from some smoke. It shouldn't be too bad. We'll have to look at smoke. That's like the last thing I'm going to look at tonight. But there's Debby there. Wow, what a signature of this is a strengthening storm for sure. Now let's go over to the west coast because it looks like things don't look good over there with the wildfires. And looks like what? Oh no, that's not. What did I just do here? Northern Pacific. Okay, no, that's not what we want. We want Pacific Northwest. Yeah, we have some. Yeah, we still see wildfire activity going on in Oregon, California. Oregon. There's one going on in Oregon right now. Let's get a few more frames here. Oregon, Washington State, and Northern California dealing with wildfires still as they deal with the heat too. And then we'll go further north into the Canadian into the Canadian area here. We'll get that up here in a moment. And while we're waiting for that to load, I'll go back to the weather and hazards. And we'll just take a look and see what's going on out west, because you see these air quality alerts in effect due to the wildfire smoke and red flag warnings in effect. So not a good situation, and a lot of air quality alerts in effect again due to the wildfire smoke in the area. So that's going to be an issue for them for a while. Let's again go to the northwest here. There's the southeastern. Yeah, you can see there are some fires in British Columbia there. Yeah, there's some big ones in British Columbia there. But I can't really spend too much time on this. We got to talk about Debby. So, looking at the Weather Prediction Center map, you can see stall frontal boundary tries to sag a little bit southeast. It doesn't really move much. Another front approaches tomorrow and stalls. And you can see they've got us in a heavy rain and flooding possible on day 3, which would be Tuesday. Let's look at the Storm Prediction Center here, and you can see where they've got the red area again for where Debby is going to make landfall. Day 2, slight risk just to our north tomorrow. And then day 3, we've got a marginal risk for more thunderstorm activity as well. So let's go to the models now. We've looked at all this stuff here. And let's take a look at the at what the models have with Debby. And then we'll talk about the longer range. But let's first talk about, we'll go over it again. We're going to look at the GFS model. We'll look at the different models here. We'll go to the North American view first and look at the GFS and the jet stream. And you can see here what we have with the jet stream here. And you can see what's happening. There's not much steering current, and there's actually an Atlantic ridge that's going to push Debby back westward again. And then its remnants will get picked up by this trough in the jet stream that we'll have to watch out for later on in the forecast period. Let's go to the 500 MB height here. And you can see that there's Debby, and you can see a little trough right there that goes into the east. But we've got a ridge in between that, and that's going to push this thing west. And then there's another trough that kind of swings through a little bit later on. But I'm not really going to go into we're just going to show you the CPC maps as far as the long range goes, because I really don't want to. We'll just briefly go over temperature anomalies. See, I'll just run this real quick so you get a chance to look at this. Looks like it does get cooler toward later in the week. There is some cooler weather that tries to move in, so no really big heat in the east, at least not according to the GFS. So let's just get to this. Let's just cut to the chase. Let's just go to the surface map. That's the one everybody wants to see, because this is the one that's going to be featuring Debby. So you can see here, Debby makes landfall, and you can see it tighten up just before it makes landfall this tomorrow morning in the Big Bend area of Florida. It moves up into southern Georgia. Meanwhile, in our area, you see that front tries to push offshore. Tomorrow will be a little drier day, and then Tuesday, and you see here, this thing barely moves. Here we are on the Wednesday, and you can see how slow moving this is. And look at what the GFS is doing now. So it's actually pushing it west over Georgia. This is absolutely nuts. So it's pushing it back west again into the Gulf, and it's just having it sit there. There's a high that builds in. And then that is the strangest thing that I've ever seen the model do. That's crazy. But the problem is it's sitting over the same areas for so long, it's going to produce so much rain. All right, so let's just see what the 12Z GFS, if that does the same thing. Yeah, it does the same thing. That's crazy. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Let's take a look at the European model. No, not the EC Fast, the European regular. I don't want that one. Let's see if the European is doing the same thing. Now, the European just has it sitting there. Here we are, Thursday, and it's still sitting over South Carolina. Just pounding them over and over and over again. And there's a question as to the stall front we're going to have, if any moisture from that's going to get pulled up. So you can see the European, the models are kind of all over the place with this because they don't know what to do because there's no steering current and there's a big blocking high in the way. So it can't move northeastward. Let's look at the icon. Similar to the European. The icon still kind of tries to take it up the coast. So there's one model that still wants to try to take it up the coast. Not really buying that. Let's look at the Canadian. Canadian is similar to the icon. But the Euro and the GFS know that we've got that strong ridge there. And that strong ridge is going to block the movement because you have this ridge here. You have a ridge in the Atlantic, and then you have a high that's trying to build down from Canada. So it's got nowhere to go, basically, and it just goes to the west. This is, like I said, very strange. We'll have to watch if this actually verifies or not. But if we go back to the WPC and look at rainfall, QPF, this is what they have for us in the day 1 through 5, and you can see they have a lot of rain falling in northern Florida into Georgia, southern Georgia, and eastern South Carolina. We're talking over a foot of rain, perhaps. And then further up the coast, it has our area seeing another additional 4 to 5 inches, depending on what kind of remnants get blown up from Debby. All right, so this is what we have, and that's why we have an excessive rain. We look at the excessive rain, you'll see that risk of excessive rain right here. So let's look at the GFS and see what it does for total accumulated precip. And I'm going to just shift this now to eastern U.S. so we can get an absolutely better view on this here. Because we're going to move this along, and you'll see what happens here. You'll see where those yellows are. That's where the GFS is saying over a foot of rain can fall, perhaps 2 feet of rain. Now, I know everybody's talking about South Carolina, but honestly, it could be the Big Bend of Florida, southern Georgia, as well as eastern South Carolina. This whole area could be devastated by a lot of flooding. And that's going to be the main threat with this storm here. You can see the GFS keeps the heavier rain pretty much confined to that area. Let's look at the European now. Let's go to the 12s of the European. It goes a little further out. So you can see how the European eventually pulls some of that moisture up into our area, and then we start seeing a lot of rain from that. And then we could see an additional 3 inches of rain, depending on where the moisture from this thing goes. You can see the GFS wants to actually push it down European. This is the again the 12Z European run. So if we look at what this 12Z European run does, you can see that. And actually, this model is different. So this is what the 12Z European does. It doesn't it takes it in over North Carolina and has it sit over here, and then just has a rainy mess starting Friday, Saturday, and then it doesn't really get out of here until Sunday. So we could have a crappy couple of days, really rainy weather, depending on what happens here with this. It's all about what happens with the stall front, and right now it's really hard to tell what's going to happen right now with this stall front. Where it winds up, that's anyone's guess at this point. So let's take a closer look at the southeastern U.S. view here as we look at Debby. And again, you can see how long it takes. Look at how long it takes to get from here we are. It takes, all right, that's Monday. Tuesday, it's only moved like 20 miles, 30 miles, maybe 50 miles, and then it maybe slowly moves into, this is the problem. It's just sitting here over the same spots over and over and over again. And this is what makes this storm so bad and so dangerous. Again, we have this unusual pattern in the atmosphere that just, and again, look at the amount of rainfall. I mean, it's off the charts. I'm talking over 20 inches of rain is going to be absolutely devastating flooding in this area. Devastating flooding. It's going to be a major, major, major disaster. Let's go ahead now and look at some of the shorter range models. We'll go to the HRRR, 0Z HRRR, and we'll take a look at this HRRR here. So you'll see that, again, that landfall, again, and that's going to strengthen, and then this rain is just going to sit over the same areas. Oh, look how slow this thing moves. And then it gets back out over the water again, and it could pick up more strength again. So, yeah, this is pretty crazy stuff. And just through 0Z Wednesday, what is the HRRR doing here? Yeah, we're talking over 20 inches in spots. This is going to be one for the record books, folks. But, again, this is what we're dealing with in this world of climate crisis. Let's go to the NAM. And I think because we're later, we have more of the NAM in here. So that's so here we go. Here's the NAM simulation, and again, look at that. Really wraps it up before having it make landfall in the Big Bend and then right over southern Georgia. It's not just going to be. It's going to be this whole area, that Big Bend area, Florida. That's what they call it. Southern Georgia, and then South Carolina just getting pounded by this thing. And the NAM, let's see what the NAM has as far as total rainfall goes here in this area. And again, over 2 feet of rain. This is almost unheard of, folks. This is absolutely crazy and totally devastating for this area. It's going to be a big problem. And we'll also just briefly look at the winds as well. On here, you can see that it's going to strengthen before it moves in. So it's going to strengthen to a hurricane, and that's going to be bad too. You're going to have a strengthening storm, as we saw what happened in Texas with Beryl. Strengthening storm. It can be very bad when it makes landfall. Let's go to the GFS. I know it's a lower resolution model, but you'll see the GFS here as well. And then it gets back out over the GFS kind of just puts it there. Let's look at the European. I mean, they're totally all over the place, which is nuts. European doesn't get it that strong, though. The Euro is way off with the wind speeds. That's the problem with the Euro. We could look at the AI. Yeah, the Euro is way off with the wind speeds. That's the problem with the Euro. We can't even use this. So, yeah, it's going to be a bad situation, and we're going to take a closer look at that. But let's talk about our weather now. I'll go back to the HRRR, and we'll talk about our weather now through this, at least through Wednesday or Thursday, because, again, a lot of that is just going to depend on Debby at this point. So you could see tomorrow at 10 overnight, these high dew points don't go anywhere. We actually start off with a northwest wind tomorrow, which may bring in somewhat drier air. Dew points might be a little bit lower, but it's going to be hotter as a result. Then the wind shift to the south later on. And then as we get into Tuesday, you can see that push of dry air trying to get in. But then we got to deal with this stalled front, and that's the issue. Temperatures tonight, not going to drop back that much. Tomorrow's going to be pretty warm. I think it'll get close to 90, and a lot of parts of Long Island, Jersey, you'll probably be low to mid-90s, as well as the city. Not dropping much off at night. And then Tuesday gets a little interesting. You see this front comes through, and it brings and the temperatures start dropping. And this could also cause some thunderstorms too. So if we could look at the radar here, the radar simulation, you'll get to see our next chance. Tomorrow, I think the only threat for the thunderstorms is going to be north of our area. But it's Tuesday that we're going to have to watch for some thunderstorms popping off with this front, perhaps in the later in the afternoon. Well, probably any time starting in the afternoon to later in the day at this point. Let's go to the GFS, and we will show the dew points and wind flow on the GFS to show you that this front kind of tries to make it through where we are Wednesday, literally right on the boundary of it. Thursday, right on the boundary. You can see the drier air over New England, the more humid air off to the south. But after that, it's just all bets are off. It all depends on Debby, and this is what makes it very hard. There's just too much uncertainty past a certain point. And you can see here we have cooler temperatures on Wednesday, which may mean more rain and clouds in the forecast with that stalled front around. Same thing for Thursday. Quite cool temperatures, actually, but unfortunately, that will probably come with clouds and a chance of showers. So here we go. And you'll see what I'm talking about. So, yeah, you can see Wednesday, maybe some chances of showers, and then Thursday also, perhaps, depending on where that high sets up. So, obviously, with skies, if you want to see the sun, tomorrow is your day, because after that, Tuesday, we're going to have some more clouds. Wednesday, plenty of clouds. And with the stall front around, who knows when we're going to get out of the clouds at this point. And then, of course, we got to watch out for Debby. So let's go to the some of the higher resolution cloud models here at this point. RGEM, you'll see again tomorrow we should have a decent amount of sunshine. But Tuesday here, more clouds coming into the picture. And this is the RGEM, which is obviously different. And the Canadian wants to you can see the battle going on between the clouds from Debby and the clearer skies trying to work in from the north. That, again, is just too... Right now, it's just too... I can't even tell you what's going to happen. I mean, without a jet stream, without much of an airflow we've got this very unusual pattern in the atmosphere that's causing this. So if we go back to GFS and look at the jet stream here... you'll see what we've got here. So we've got, again, this just huge. It's just the jet stream's like all the way over here, but we got not much steering currents down here, so it's very unusual. You have a very weird setup here going on. The jet streams, like you see, these winds are just contorting on each other. You can look at the European as well on this as well, and you can see that these winds are just kind of contorting on each other. It's very hard to. There's not really much of a jet stream there, so it's not really a good kick to move this thing along, and it's just kind of just left sitting there, you know. Let's just visualize Debby a little more on Ventu Sky. I'm going to go down here. Here's Debby. We'll look at wind gusts. And right now you can see it's going to strengthen. So as we go into tomorrow, before it makes landfall, you see it strengthens. And you can see it's starting to strengthen there. Hurricane. It'll landfall as a Category 1 hurricane. Perhaps. I probably shouldn't make it more than a Category 1, but still, that wind is going to cause damage and power outages. And the fact that it's a strengthening storm is going to be a big, big problem. And then the fact that it just sits over here. All right. And we could look at the seas as well and the wave height as well from this. I don't see anything too crazy with the... well, there is going to be storm surge over here. But I think the main issue is going to be the rainfall with this storm. That's what I think. So lastly, let's just look at the smoke model just briefly here. And then we'll go to the CPC briefly as well. Don't really have enough of the 0Z smoke model in, so we're going to have to look at the 18Z HRRR smoke model, and let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and do that, and get this to load in a moment. That would be nice. You know what? I think we're going to skip the smoke tonight. There it is. So you can see we're going to deal with a little bit of smoke probably later on tomorrow, but right now we're all watching Debby. Anyway, this weather update's long enough. Have a good night.